Welcome everyone to this week's community call. We hold these every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. UTC. This week, like I say every week, we have quite a few things to go over, but some exciting things to go over on the governance side, a product launch, and a few other things. So I'll jump right into the agenda. On today's call, I'm going to go over some community updates. So I'll talk about the launch of the Sherlock XS cover. We launched that last week. I'll talk about that more in detail. There's a couple active snapshot proposals that are up for vote. These are regarding treasury expenditures. There's one for dedaub and one for Immunefi. And I'll give an update on the vote that ended last week about allocating SAFE to buyback wNXM. For the updates this week, we'll hear Hugh's weekly team update. I'll do my weekend review of cover sales. I'll talk about active coverage by cover type. I'll give an update on Holden claims, and then I'll talk a little bit about the community call schedule going forward for the rest of the year. And then at that time, it'll be our open forum where anyone can bring up anything or ask any questions or talk about anything in general related to the mutual. But without further ado, I will jump into the community updates section. So the first update that I have is about the launch of Sherlock XS cover. We announced this last week. This is something that the team has been working on for quite some time. Our biz dev team has been working with the Sherlock folks on this product for a while and excited to launch this. So Sherlock XS cover is essentially, we are underwriting 25% of the cover that Sherlock is underwriting. Sherlock, for those who aren't familiar, is an auditing and smart contract coverage protocol. What they do is they combine legacy audit practices with auditing code competitions, and through that, they provide really secure audits for different protocols within the industry. And then once they've done the audits, they offer protocols coverage that's priced based on risk. And because they go through and they audit everything, they're able to offer a coverage at a lower cost. So with that, we've worked out an agreement where every time they underwrite coverage, let's say it's 10 million, we would underwrite 2.5 million in coverage. So we underwrite 25% of the covers. Those fees flow into the capital pool and to the risk assessors who are staking against this product. And the benefit here is that whenever Sherlock sells cover and distributes their cover, we are getting 25% of those cover fees through our excess cover agreement. It allows us to supercharge Sherlock's ability to underwrite more cover over time. Their capital pool is so large in size, but with us underwriting an extra amount of cover, they're able to offer more coverage and sell more cover, which benefits both of us. Just as a breakdown of what this actually covers, so claims would be eligible during the cover period if claims are paid out on Sherlock's side. This would be any of the underlying risks that are covered that exceed the deductible in a 90-day period. So if we're looking at that, there's a $500,000 deductible, but once that's met, we reimburse 25% of underlying claim payments in excess of that deductible. And then underlying risk means protocols that are currently covered by Sherlock and then new protocols that Sherlock adds to their coverage. Right now, Sherlock offers coverage for Euler, Hook, Liquify, Lyra, Open, and Sentiment. And you can find that info on their website as well. The benefit here is with excess cover, it's a discretionary cover version of reinsurance in the traditional insurance markets. The benefit here is what we're building in V2 is very, it's designed exactly for products like this and for offerings like this, because people that have risk expertise can build businesses on top of the mutual and benefit from the expertise that we have, which is in pricing, risk management, and then we have a very deep liquidity within our capital pool. So people that are in the space that want to underwrite existing cover products, that want to offer new cover products, they can work with the mutual, they can handle distribution, and we can act as that excess coverage layer and help people underwrite more coverage and benefit from distribution and bring more fees into the capital pool over time. So this is very exciting. In our announcement, we have just a word out for anybody that's interested in building a risk management business on top of the mutual can reach out to our team to learn more about how you can do that, especially with the upcoming launch of V2. So really excited about this. I have the announcement in the weekly community call resources thread that I have open for today. I think a big thanks to our team that's worked on this. So that would be the BizDev team, Ricky and Jack, and to the Sherlock team, and everybody who's contributed to this as well. So I think this is a really big milestone for us and a really exciting product launch. Before I move on, does anybody have any questions about excess cover? Okay. If not, I will move on to the next slide. So just doing a recap from last week, one of the snapshot proposals that's up is about the dedaub smart contract monitoring service. We talked about this briefly last week, so just as a general overview, this went up for vote in May of 2021. Members voted to approve this service. The cost is $20,000 per month or $240,000 per year. The cost to date in wNXM has been a little over 10,100 wNXM. And I have the monthly and annual costs broken down on this slide as well. There's been active discussion on the forum about this. Neville from dedaub has given some good feedback and has commented back and forth with a couple members. We've had other members that have weighed in on this as well, including Gote, who's on the call today, and a couple others. But this was up for, I think, roughly 10 or so days, and this is now transitioned to Snapshot. So the Snapshot vote that is live right now, and one of the links to that is in the thread for today's community call. This is going to be open for voting until Saturday. So the 29th of October at 10 a.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. UTC, that's when this vote will close. The three options that are available for voting are to renew with existing terms, which would be option A. So that would be dedaub monitoring 20 protocols for $20,000 a month, paid in wNXM. Option B would be renew with alternative terms. So contract dedaub to monitor 10 protocols for 750 wNXM per month, regardless of the price of wNXM. Both of these would have the agreements until next October or October 2023. Option B was something that was discussed on the forum, and then option C is to not renew this agreement and cut this expense. This has been discussed again on the forum. I'd recommend checking that out. I think it's important for everyone to review and vote on this. Currently, the leading outcome is option C. If you have any thoughts on this or want to share any feedback, go ahead and do that on the forum. I'm also happy to hear anyone's comments about this before I move on to the next slide. Okay, if there's no comments, I'll move on to the next one, which is the Immunefi Matching Bug Bounty Program. So this proposal, again, is up as a review for a treasury expenditure. Both this and the dedaub agreements have been active for more than a year. This was voted in originally in August of 2021. Members approved the start of this program. Initially, it started with $200,000 in matching bounties. That first one was paid out in March of 2022 for a critical vuln that was disclosed for urine finance. This was then renewed in April of 2022, and it was expanded. So the total funding for this was $600,000. To date, there has been one critical vuln that was submitted for synthetics, and that was matched and paid out. So the remaining funding for this program is $550,000. The cost to date has been 8,834 wNXM. This again was up for discussion, same amount of time, roughly 10 days, and this is transitioned to Snapshot. So this one is also open for voting until Saturday on the 29th, and it'll close for voting at 10 a.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. UTC on Saturday. The two options here are to continue with the existing program. This would use the existing funding allocated for this program, or to discontinue funding for this program, which would end the matching program and deallocate the existing $550,000 in funding. The leading outcome for this vote right now, relatively low participation, but the leading outcome is to continue. Again, I recommend everybody review the forum, share any thoughts there, and then participate in this vote. So both of these for treasury expenditures, I think, are pretty important. So looking forward to seeing more participation in both of these votes, and I can provide an update in the newsletter next week. And then I just wanted to give a quick update on the allocation, the vote to allocate SAFE to buyback wNXM. So members did vote on this, and this did pass. So that signaling vote has passed, and Vincent's terms that he included in his proposal was that if SAFE is worth above 70 cents, we'd sell 50% in exchange for wNXM. And if SAFE is worth more than $1, we would sell the other 50% in exchange for wNXM. Right now, SAFE is non-transferable. There's an active discussion on the SafeDAO forum about unpausing the token contract. I have that discussion linked in the thread for today's call as well. There is, in the community fund, a little bit more than 71,000 SAFE. So when the token contract is unpaused, then we would be able to execute a buyback using SAFE. Looking at the total amount, each tranche, according to these terms, would be roughly 35,500 SAFE, which would make up that total number. But until there's that decision on the SafeDAO side of things on whether or not they want to unpause the contract or not, or what time frame it is, this is going to be something that we can't really act on until that's solidified in SAFE governance. But just as a general update on buybacks, there have been a couple of different votes. One of them was for the ETHW sale, and one was for the sale of LDO to buyback wNXM. In total, more than 64,000 wNXM has been bought back to date through those two buyback initiatives. At book, that's 1,447.5 ETH, which is just about $2 million worth at today's prices. And the current value is a little bit over $1 million. So we have executed a couple buybacks. This would be in addition to those buybacks when the SAFE token is unpaused. Any questions on this or the previous discussion about Immunefi before I move on? Okay. I will hand things over to Hugh for his weekly team update. Hugh?
Hey everyone. Yeah, so I guess a couple of things this week. The first one is you may have noticed there was a smaller buyback that went through. The Ethereum Fair, which I didn't actually know existed, but for a while, was another proof of work fork. So we, in a similar way to the Ethereum work, we had a white hat extract the funds for us. And we conducted a small buyback, and we left that in stables in Tether, and that's now being deposited into the community fund. I think it was about 65,000 USDT. So that's in there as well. I guess the community can decide what they wish to do with it as well. But it made sense to have some small amount of stables in the pool. So something extra, relatively small, but still helps. So there's that. On the development side of things, V2 just continues going quite well. Boot node resources are fully kind of ramped up now, and grinding through the testing, which has been good. So that's all kind of going along okay, and we've got the second audit lined up. So again, we'll share more when we can. So V2 stuff's going along quite well. I guess there's been. Yeah, hold on, I'm just going back to my notes, which I've now got on a different page, so hold on a second. I also, just while we're on engineering, so we've also got another engineer joining in a couple of weeks, so about 3 weeks' time now, so that's been great. And we've kind of finished the kind of edit cover flow on the UI for V2 as well. So kind of just cranking through the UI side of things as well. So one bit at a time. The staking is going to be the next part. So and it's likely we just release with the basics to start with, and then we can add in the really additional functionality later on. So V2 is going quite well. And adding some more engineers to the team, which is sorely needed. So on that side of things, all good. On the, I also wanted to make just a few comments on the Sherlock. I guess reinsurance is not actually reinsurance, but that kind of deal. I think this is really promising because it kind of leans into how we want V2 and the syndicate model to work. And I guess all being well, I guess a few things. One, it kind of shows that it's actually really hard to start your own coverage protocol and bootstrap and maintain capital. And Nexus has managed to do that. It has had it comes with some consequences, like with the wrapped wNXM price and all the rest of it. But our locked capital is actually a material moat, and it means that it's very hard for other teams, other projects to be able to compete with that. And so Sherlock is, they've got some really good auditing services and risk assessments, but one thing they have struggled somewhat with is growing their capital pool to provide coverage. And so this allows them to focus on what they're good at, but also leverage what Nexus is good at in terms of being able to provide capacity and coverage. And I guess ideally, from our perspective, obviously Sherlock can do as they wish, but from our perspective, it looks reasonably likely that Sherlock will be able to transition into a syndicate in Nexus V2 and be able to kind of price and distribute, price their own risk and distribute coverage as they wish. And so they're building, this is kind of like one of the perfect use cases for a syndicate. The syndicate has distribution reach, so they've got a method for gaining customers, and they've also got pricing and risk expertise. And so those two things are really the two things that a perfect syndicate for Nexus would have. And essentially, the missing piece from Nexus's point of view, from the whole value chain point of view, is the capital. And essentially, Nexus provides that. So that's kind of the kind of perfect partnership, really. And so looking to hopefully expand on that. And as Sherlock add on new protocols, then they'll simply buy more coverage on Nexus. So I think that's a really good one, and gives an indication of how things could go with V2 and how we're planning to kind of help incubate and grow syndicates. So been really happy with that. I guess on the other side of things, with all fingers crossed, we've got a new staking deal coming through in the coming weeks. So keep your eyes out for that one. And I guess more broadly on the BD side, and we have been talking to a lot of different teams about potentially building future syndicates on Nexus V2, and definitely at various stages, but there's some potentially some DNO stuff coming in various forms, and so different product lines and things as well. So there's quite a lot happening behind the scenes, and a lot of people are looking forward to V2 and how they can use it and grow and distribute their own products. So I guess lots of stuff happening on the BD side of things as well. Just going to check if I haven't forgotten anything. One other thing that I have got on my list for this quarter that I've been planning to get to for quite a while but haven't quite got there as yet is potentially reviewing the protocol cover wording. So I don't know, I've raised this before, but I haven't managed to get to allocate some time to it. But I'll look to, I guess over the coming weeks, look to post something on the forum about it, potentially looking at things in a bit of a different way, hopefully, and looking to gauge community feedback to see if it makes sense. I think just in general, it's quite hard to. There's, I guess, a lot of grey area in the existing protocol cover wording, especially with economic incentive failure, which can be quite broad and it's hard to understand where the lines are. So I think it makes sense to kind of review things and clarify where we can in advance, because it's always better to do it in advance rather than not. I think those are the main things. Oh, no, sorry, tokenomics. That's what I wanted to go through as well. Ray put a big update in the tokenomics channel about where he's got to and modeling and various things. And so after some community feedback, so please, if you're into the depths of the tokenomics stuff, please have a look at it. There's an interesting trade-off coming out that it'd be good to get some feedback on. I won't go into it now because it's actually quite technical, but if you've got some time and you want to dive in, then do have a look at it. It's kind of a trade-off between making sure that we've got a good mechanism to buy and sell, and it's relatively frictionless, but also making sure that we can the mutual can capture capital with if and when the NXM price increases, and how we can basically grow the capital pool in the future. And so how the mechanism does that, and which trade-off to go for. So have a look at that. If you've got some time, be interested to get feedback. Ray's been doing a lot of great work on the modeling side and doing some simulation work, and in particular the simulation work that he's done has thrown up these questions, because in the surface and the design side of things, without doing the simulations, we thought it would work one way, and then it didn't quite work that way. So the work he's doing is quite valuable here in terms of designing the mechanism. So have a look at that and provide feedback if you can. Yeah, I think those are the major points. So yeah, obviously happy to take questions on any of that.
Okay. I don't see any comments coming through in the community calls channel, so I will move on to the review of cover sales for the last week. As always, this data is sourced from the Nexus Tracker. You can find all of the mutual's analytics directly on nexustracker.io. In the last week, the mutual sold about 15.25 million in coverage, and members earned a little more than 38,500 in fees from cover sales. The largest cover sale in the last week was for the Sherlock XS cover, and that was about 8.23 million. The fees earned for that, which is a 1-month cover, were 13,530.47. Then we saw some large cover buys coming through for Balancer V2, Convex Finance V1, and Ribbon Finance. And of course, we've seen consistent covers coming through for Uniswap, GMX, and Aave, as well as some cover buys coming in for Compound, FTX Open, and Beefy. Looking at the DAI denomination versus ETH denomination, pretty heavily denominated in DAI. So 94% for covers sold in DAI denomination and about 6% in ETH denomination. For fees earned, a little bit, roughly 91% in DAI denomination and 9% in ETH denomination. So another solid week of cover buys, and that Sherlock cover buy was a big one and a big thing to celebrate this week. Looking at the active coverage by cover type, just as a note, all this info can be found in the Nexus Tracker, but we also break it down on a more granular level in the newsletter that we send out every week on Wednesdays. So total active cover for protocol cover, about 152.8 million. Custody cover is just a little under 25 million. Excess cover is 8.23 million. And yield token cover is a little bit more than 1.3 million in active coverage. This comes out, if I remember correctly, a little bit more than 179 million in active coverage at the moment. And then I just wanted to give a quick update on Holdennaut claims. We put out an announcement about this previously when they were first halted in August, but the 90-day period is going to end and claims filing can begin on the 7th of November. So for context, Holdennaut halted withdrawals for their users on August 8th. That 90-day waiting period is due to the clause in cover wording that says if withdrawals are halted for more than 90 days, a member can file a claim. So that'll start in November. For those who hold a cover that was active at the time withdrawals were halted, they'll need to provide off-chain proof of loss. So some of those examples, and I'll put out a Medium post outlining some of the examples, but some would be a most recent account statement with personal info censored out. You can generally download those in PDF or CSV format. And then screenshots of an account balance. Emails from Holdennaut work as well, talking about them halting withdrawals, though it's pretty widely noted at this point that withdrawals have been halted. And then other examples that members have that can demonstrate a loss and what their balance was at the time of that loss. Again, total covers for this, there were 40 that were active at the time that withdrawals were halted. The liabilities here are 540 ETH and 1.39 million DAI. that comes out to about, on today's prices, 2.12 million in liabilities, which is about 1.06% of the capital pool. Like I said, I'll put out an announcement closer to claims filing about a week out, and I'll write up a Medium post that outlines the process for filing a claim, what specific cover IDs are eligible to file claims, how to provide proof of loss, and all of that information, as well as some information about claims assessment for those who want to actually stake wNXM and assess claims. So this will be coming up here in just a few weeks. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about our community calls. I'm going to start really digging into working on the documentation. So I'm going to move the community call schedule to every 2 weeks. So shifting to biweekly calls. One of the things that I'd like to focus on if we shift to every 2 weeks is getting some feedback to people that regularly attend calls or people that might not be able to make it, and figure out if there's a better day or time. Having a sense of what time zones most people are in to see if we can change some of the time frames to better accommodate people's schedules. So I'll be putting together a survey and I'll poll members, like the folks that are on the call today, and asking people for feedback to potentially adjust the day, the time, or potentially the format. But our next call is going to be on Tuesday, November 8th. Just looking at the rest of the year, the call schedule is going to be the 8th of November, the 22nd, the 6th of December, and then the 20th of December. And then once we head into the new year, I'll put together a new call schedule and I can adjust based on the feedback that we get when we put out the survey. But yeah, just a quick update on that. And then at this point in the call, it's the open forum. So if anybody has any questions or would like to discuss anything related to the mutual, feel free to jump on voice or leave a comment in the community calls text channel. Okay. If there's no questions or comments, I can wrap up the call for today. Thanks everybody for joining us on this week's community call. I hope that everybody has a great rest of their day and a wonderful rest of their week, and we will see you on the next call in 2 weeks.